G. Rajalakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of EAE, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, is going to handle for the course Electronic Devices on the topic bipolar junction transistors. So now today I'll be covering the topics such as bipolar junction transistors, within which you will be having the construction and operation of NPN and PNP transistor, current components in a transistor, characteristics of the configurations like CE, CB, CC, and there will be some subtopics like base with modulation, transistor breakdown, transistor biasing, operating point, stabilization, thermal runaway problems, and switching characteristics. So now let us see what is a transistor. So the transistor is a semiconductor device which will be capable of transferring a weak signal from a low resistance circuit to a high resistance circuit, or we can say from a low resistance path to a high resistance path. So the transistor is derived from the name trans. Trans means transferring the signal, and ISTOR, star, means resistance, right? So it is together put as transistor, because the transistor, in the transistor, it will be able to transfer the signal from the low resistance path to the high resistance path. That is why the resistor word is used here. So this device is mainly used as a switching device and also for amplification purpose. So what do you mean by the amplification? Amplification means when you want to convert the weak signal into a like a strengthened signal, we can use the transistor. And either it could be a voltage or current. So when we come into the transistor, you'll be having many kind of transistors like a bipolar junction transistor and the field effect transistor and metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor, like that. So here we are going to see the topic bipolar junction transistor. So why the name is given as a bipolar junction transistor? So bipolar means when the transistor is going to act with the two polarities. P and N means we'll have holes and electrons. So two polarities are involved in it. So it is called as a bipolar junction transistor. So again, the bipolar junction transistor is a three-terminal semiconductor device consisting of two PN junctions. In a diode, you'll be having a 1 PN junction. Here you'll be having a 2 PN junctions, which will be able to amplify or magnify a given signal. And normally the bipolar junction transistors are called as a current controlled device. So why the name is given as current controlled device is that the output current, the collector current will be depending upon the input current. So it is called as a current controlled device. So basically, if you look into the applications of the transistor, it is mainly used as an amplifier, and it is mainly used for the wave shaping circuits. Wave shaping here means again we are going to increase the amplitude of the given signal, so it is called as amplifier. Here, if you want to clip a part of the circuit or a part of a given waveform, it can be used as a clipper, and also it can be used in timers and time delay circuits, and main thing, it can be used as a switch also. Next will be terminals of BJT. The bipolar junction transistor consists of three main terminals. One will be emitter, base, and collector. So when we talk about the three terminals, we have to look into the size of the three structure of the emitter, base, and collector. If you see the size of the emitter will be larger compared to base and collector. So but here when we study, the size of all the three will be shown as the same. If you concentrate on the doping of emitter, the doping concentration will be more in emitter and very less in base, and moderately in collector. When we see the size, the emitter size will be comparatively lesser than the collector. Collector size will be more because it has to collect all the electrons, or because it has to receive all the electrons. And then next will be symbol of bipolar junction transistor. Why we concentrate on the symbol? Because the BJT has got two types. two types of transistor. Either it could be NPN transistor or PNP transistor. So in NPN transistor, how we are going to differentiate them? So when through the emitter terminal, if the arrow points towards the junction, it is called as a NPN transistor. If the point arrow goes, if you can see here, if the arrow is towards the outside, it will be PNP transistor. So here also you can see the three terminals: emitter, base and collector. And one more thing, why the name is given as emitter here is, emitter is the one which is the source of the charge carriers. It could be electrons or holes. Base is the one through which the electrons will be passing through, and the collector will receive all the electrons. Next is working of NPN transistor. Here, as I told you, you can find the structure. It has got a two PN junctions, as if two PN junctions are sandwiched. N, P, N. So we know that N type has got a majority carriers as electrons. P type will have holes as the majority carriers. And again in the N side, you'll be having the electrons as the majority carriers. So here we have to concentrate on one thing about the biasing of the transistors. See, as I told you, we are going to transfer the signal from the low resistance path to the high resistance path. What are they? So when we are going for biasing, NPN transistor, see, emitter and base should be always forward biased. Collector and base should be reverse biased. As per this circuit diagram, here emitter and base should be always forward biased. Here it is shown as the first diagram represents as if it is a common base configuration. So base and emitter is forward biased and collector and base is reverse biased. How will you understand that? See there, the N type, from left hand side you see N side is connected to the negative terminal of the battery, and P side, if you see the center portion, that is connected with the positive side of the battery. We know that when N is connected with the negative side of the battery and P side is connected with the positive side of the battery, we say that it is a forward biased diode. Same way, you go to the right hand side, PN junction, you look into that, it is reverse bias. When we say it is reverse bias, when a negative side of the device is connected with the positive terminal of the battery, and the positive side is P type is connected with the negative side of the battery, we say that it is a reverse biased condition. So here also the same thing is done. The forward bias is applied across the emitter base junction, and the reverse bias is applied across the collector base junction. So we say that it is forward biased and reverse biased respectively. So what will happen is, see, N type, we know that electrons are the majority carriers. As you apply the input, what will happen in forward bias condition, the resistance will be less. When you look into the reverse bias condition, say the PN side, so obviously there will be a possibility of the depletion layer formation that we have to take care, right? So what we are going to do here, when you give the input energy or input source to the transistor, what will happen is the electrons from the N side will move towards the base. Say for example, an amount of electrons are passing from the emitter and it is going to the collector. Before that, there will be some recombination taking place in the base region, right? So not all the electrons will recombine with the holes. Instead, 5% of the electrons will recombine with the holes, and the remaining 95% will leave the collector junction. Then you can find the flow of current. So it is symbolically, it is represented how the flow of current is there. You can find out the red dots with the arrow marks. This will be the flow of current. A small base current will also flow anyway. A less amount of a base current will flow, which will be of a microamperes. Whereas emitter current and collector current will be of milliampere. So if you see the last line, IE is equal to IB plus IC. So the emitter current will be the sum of the base current and the sum of the collector current. Same way, the right hand side circuit diagram shows the same thing, only it is shown as the circuit diagram. So it is a NPN transistor. So NPN transistor, how will you identify? When the pointer, when the arrow points outwards. So it is shown here as this shows it is a common emitter configuration. Emitter is connected common to both the input and output. So next is same way working of PNP transistor. So here the majority carriers are going to be the holes. The holes constitute the current here. Both the emitter current and collector current will be because of the holes. So it is say explanation is same as the NPN transistor. So let me not get into deep here. Next is the bipolar junction transistors can be operated in three different configurations. Basically, common base configuration, common emitter configuration, common collector configuration. So today I'll be teaching you common base and common emitter configuration. So now let us see characteristics of the transistor, that is a bipolar junction transistor under common base configuration. So here we have to think about one thing, why the name is given as a common base. So look at the diagram. You have emitter, base and collector. Here, the base terminal is made common to input part of the circuit and output part of the circuit. So you can see the circuit diagram there. Base is connected to input side and also to the output side. So it is called as a common base configuration. So this diagram shows how you can study the VI characteristics of the common base configuration. So depending upon the type of the transistor, you will be connecting. Say here, the emitter terminal is connected to the negative terminal and the base is connected to the positive terminal. So what does it mean? Obviously, and here as per this circuit diagram, I suppose base is connected to negative and emitter is connected to positive. So from this we can learn one more thing. What is the type of the transistor? PNP type is shown here. So emitter is connected to positive, base is connected to negative, right? So this part is forward biased and VCB, collector to base junction, is reverse biased. So what is that? Base is connected to positive terminal and collector is connected to the negative terminal. So it is a PNP transistor. So next, let us see how to study the input characteristics of the CB configuration. So once you connect the circuit with all the resistors and being given with the input biasing, that is forward bias and reverse bias, how will you study the characteristics of the CB configuration? Yes. When you want to study the input characteristics, what you have to do is, you have to vary the, I'll go back to the diagram. So what is the input voltage? VBE. So what will be the current, output current here in the input part alone? Emitter current. That's what is shown here. So we are going to vary the voltage between the base and emitter, and we are going to collect or receive or note down what will be the value of the emitter current. That's what we are going to do. But one more thing, the reverse bias is there, no? The output part, VBC, or you can say VCB, which is a reverse bias, should be set to 0, 2, 3, anything according to our wish. You can, the reverse bias voltage can be set for a set of reading that should be fixed. Say for instance, I'm going to vary the emitter base voltage from 0 to some volts. For an instant, you have to keep VCB as 0 and take a set of reading. Next, same way, again set VCB is equal to higher than 0 and take the reading. Plot the curve between VB and IE. So if you look into the characteristics, what we can identify, it resembles the same as the PN junction diode. A forward biased PN junction, how it will behave? When you increase the input voltage, the output current will also increase proportionally after it reaches the barrier voltage. So usually the cut-in voltage of a silicon transistor will be 0.7 and for germanium it will be 0.3. So depending upon the cut-in voltage, So the current will start increasing because it resembles same as that of the PN junction diode under a forward biased condition. So you can you can look into the curve. So as voltage increases, the current also increases proportionally. But one more thing we have to see here, when VCB is equal to 0 volts, you can look at the curve where it is. When VCB is equal to 8 volts, look at the curve, it has shifted to the left side. And again, when VCB is higher than that, again the curve has shifted. So this you have it in your mind. I'll be teaching what it is, why the curve shifts even though it is a reverse bias voltage. Okay, next will be output characteristics of a CB configuration. So I'll go back to the circuit diagram. When you want to study the output characteristics, you are going to concentrate on the output part of the circuit. So what will be your current which we are interested of will be the collector current. So you are going to vary the voltage between collector and base, and you are going to measure the collector current, but at the same time you have to keep the input current constant. So that's what this curve shows. Look at the curve. You are going to increase VCB and you're going to note down IC current. One more thing what we have to do is you have to make the input current constant at that point of time. That is the there we collected IE current. No, that current should be made constant here for a set of reading. Initially it should be 0, then 1 milliamps, 2 milliamps, like that you can set to any values depending upon the requirement. So what we are going, if you see the diagram, look at the curve, the lowermost one which is closer to the x-axis. It is almost closer to x-axis because the input current is 0 milliamps. If input current itself is 0 milliamps, there is no possibility of getting the collector current, right? Because it is a current controlled device. Depending upon the input current only, you can collect the output current. So this itself shows that it is a current controlled device. Like that, you can see the curve is getting shifted up because you have increased the emitter current. When I is equal to 1 milliamps, still there is an improvement in the collector current. Say it has reached 1 milliamps. Still, if you further keep on increasing, the collector current will also increase depending upon the emitter current. So this is your output characteristics. So here we have to concentrate on one thing, current gain, or we can say it is a current amplification factor. In common base configuration, it is referred as the alpha. Alpha is given by IC by IE, that is output. What is our output? Current only. Input is also current, that is IC by IE. Normally, for a transistor, the current gain should be 0.98. In common base, it is 0.98. Next is, so in the input characteristics, when I taught, I told you the same thing. This concept is called as a early effect or a base width modulation, right? So this is an important question. Without this question, maximum no questions, no question paper will be there, right? It is a basic concept that you must know in a common base configuration, right? So what do you mean by early effect, or otherwise it is called as a base width modulation? So now when you want to study the characteristics of the that is CB configurations input characteristics, what we do, you have to increase the forward bias voltage VBE, and you have to note down the collector current that you might have understood. But at the same time, VCB 0 volt, 8 volt, 18 volt is written. No, that is the reverse bias voltage. So actually, when you see, when you reverse bias any semiconductor device, what will happen? Depletion layer will be more. That is, the formation of depletion layer will be more. Here also, when you increase the VCB, see the PN part alone. If you look into the PN junction, that junction is only reverse bias. So obviously what will happen when you increase, keep on increasing the reverse voltage from 0 to 8, like that 18 up to whatever voltage, what will happen is the depletion layer width will increase. So if the width increases, what should happen? the conduction should be less. Actually speaking, the conduction should be less. But instead, you see, but here what happens? The curve is shifted to the left hand side. The conduction has started earlier, right? 8 is more than 0, 18 is more than 8. But still, the conduction has started earlier itself. That is why it is called as a early effect. Now, you should understand why this early effect occurs even though there is a formation of the depletion layer. So, why it happens is that base region, we know initially I told you the region will be very less, or the size is very less for the base region compared to the collector region. So when you keep on increasing the collector to base reverse voltage, the penetration will be, the depletion layer penetration will be more towards the base rather than the collector. So what will happen now? The that is in turn I can say it will penetrate into the base region. It is not going to expand, rather it is going to penetrate into the base region. So if it penetrates, the size of the base is getting decreased. That is why base with modulation. Initially it was somewhat better, now it has decreased. So what will happen? All the electrons will try to penetrate into the base. That is why the conduction has started earlier. That is why the collector current we are able to receive earlier. This is the reason for the base with modulation, which is due to the early effect. And one more concept is that punch through. So again, punch through is also little bit same thing only. So in reverse bias condition, we know that initially there won't be any conduction. But if you keep on increasing also, the depletion layer will increase. But still, even in PN junction reverse biased condition, you would have noted, when you increase the reverse voltage beyond a limit, what will happen? The junction will break down. Same case here also. This BN junction will break down. So that concept is called as a punch through. That is, the output voltage VCB supplied between the collector and base junction is increased. The base width will be reduced and causes a voltage breakdown. So if breakdown occurs in the transistor, what will happen? Conduction will start. This is called as the punch through. So in this you would have studied three concepts. What is early effect? Why the early effect has occurred? Which is because of the base width modulation and punch through concept. Next is, as I told you earlier, the transistor can be used as a switch, right? The switch means, what do you mean by a switch? On and off. How you can make this transistor as a switch? When you are going to use the transistor in some other applications, you can use this device as a switch. That is the point here. You can make this, utilize this transistor to on something or on or off in a circuit. So this transistor will normally operate in a three different modes, namely active mode, cutoff mode and saturation mode. So in the diagram you can see it is noted with an arrow marks: active mode, cutoff mode and saturation mode. So let us see what is active mode. So active mode is the mode, say, where the curve is totally, you can see a straight line to the x-axis. Above, when you keep on increasing the emitter current, a straight line occurs. So actually what is happening, when you increase the reverse bias voltage, when you want to note down the collector current by making the emitter current, say 0, 1, 2, like that. So after it reaches the saturation point, the current becomes constant. That is the point. That region is called as the active region, right? So let us see two junctions. There are two junctions, no? So in that, the emitter junction is forward bias and the collector junction is reverse bias. This is the normal condition. Always we know that the input part is forward bias, output is reverse bias. That mode is called as the active region. So when you see the cutoff region, what will happen is both the junctions will be reverse bias. If input port is also reverse biased and output is also reverse biased, there is no chance of getting the output. That's why when you see here what happens, IE is equal to 0 milliamps, no input current. So if no input current means the transistor is operating under both the sides as the reverse biased condition. So that is why both the collector based junction and emitter based junction are reverse bias. This in turn not allows the current to flow from collector to emitter. So that is why it is called as a cutoff mode. So in this region, if you make the transistor or work the transistor in this mode, it will be in a off condition, right? That is the point. Next is saturation mode. So here what will happen is both the junctions, emitter base and collector base, both, that is, pardon me, both are forward bias. So current flows freely from collector to emitter when the emitter voltage is high. That is why you can see there is an increment. See, slowly it is increasing. As emitter current is increased, as you increase the VCB voltage, you can see the curve is shifting to the above side when you can see there, right? That is called as a saturation region where both the junctions are forward biased. So three conditions only. Either input will be forward, output is reversed, or both are reversed, or both are forward. This is the point you have to note down when the transistor is acting as a switch. Next is characteristics of transistor under common emitter configuration. Same case here also, this diagram shows how we are going to study the VI characteristics of the transistor under common emitter configuration. Same thing here also. What do you mean by common emitter? When you make the emitter common to both the input and output part of the circuit. So here emitter and base is the input part, that's VEB is forward biased, and VEC or VCE, anything you can say, that is under reverse bias condition. So same way, look at the curve. You are going to increase the input voltage VBE and you are going to note down the input current IB. So same way, it is going to increase as we studied in the earlier thing. In the common base configuration, you are going to increase the reverse bias voltage VCE to 610. Here it is shown as 2 610. You can increase in any steps. It's not a problem. So here also same case. You are going to increase VBE, note down IB. For a set of reading, make VCE as a constant. Same way, if you look into the output characteristics, what we have to do, go to the second half. You have to increase VCE voltage, note down the collector current. At the same time, you have to make the base region as 0. That is 0, 10, 20 like that. For a set of reading, that should be made constant. Here also cutoff region, active region and saturation region are shown. And here the current amplification factor is noted as beta value. There we say it is alpha. Here it is beta, which is nothing but del IC by del IB. Right. Next will be relationship between alpha and beta. So beta we know it is del IC by IB. Alpha also you know, just substitute the equation IA is equal to IC plus IB. You will be getting the answer. What is the relationship between the beta and alpha? So next is load line analysis. So here DC load, there are actually two analysis can be done, AC load line and DC load line. So here what we are going to do is, when you are going to analyze the DC load and line analysis, you have to see that no input signal is given. That is the AC signal which you are going to amplify, you should not give. So no signal should be given, only DC input should be given. So how we are going to draw that load line is that, so we know from the circuit we have the equation VCE is equal to VCC minus ICRC. It is written for the output part alone. So VCE is equal to VCC minus ICRC. So in the output characteristics of the any configuration you can take, right? So in the, look at the output characteristics curve. What we are going to do is, we are going to note down 2 points A and B, how that is done. So to obtain the point A, what should be done is, in the equation VC is equal to VCC minus ICRC, make VCE is equal to 0 and find what is the value of IC. So after substituting, you will be getting IC is VCC by RC. Note down that point in the y-axis. Next, to note down the point or to mark the point B, what we have to do is make IC value is equal to 0 in the same equation. So in that case, what you will be getting is VCE will be equal to VCC, right? That VCE will be actually VCC. Note down that point, join A and B point, you'll be getting the load line. Next is, I was talking about forward biasing, reverse biasing. Actually speaking, when you want to amplify a signal, you are going to give the AC signal. You have the signal with you, but why do you bias it? How do you bias it? By giving the DC supply. So what is necessity for biasing? Say if you are not biasing with the DC voltage, what will happen is you will be getting the distorted waveform only. When you want to amplify the signal, only if you are not giving the input voltage, that is the DC voltage, what will happen is the first half of the waveform will be for like under the forward bias condition. With the help of the help of the AC signal, will get amplified. You'll be getting the positive half cycle, but the negative half cycle will not appear if we fail to give the biasing. Only with the help of the DC voltages, that is the input voltage, and the other side for reverse biasing we are giving no. With that only the best amplification could be done, or else we can say faithful amplification could be achieved only if the biasing input is given. That's what is written. The input voltage should exceed cut-in voltage for the transistor to be on. First, for the transistor to be on itself, you have to give the biasing. If you are not giving the input voltage, the device will not work first of all. The next will be the BJT should be in the active region so that it will act as an amplifier, or it can be operated in the or amplifier, or it could be operated as an amplifier. So that is why we are giving the biasing. So to achieve the faithful amplification. Next concept is the operating point. So in the previous slides, I was talking about the DC load line analysis. So in the DC load line, if you see, here itself it is in the need for biasing itself, there is a curve I have shown there. A point is marked, no, Q point. This is the operating point. So we have to choose an operating point which in such a way that the point should not go closer to the cutoff or not to the saturation region. It should be for the faithful amplification. What should be done? The amplifier, the transistor should be operated in the active region. So the Q point is also should lie in the active region only. That is, it should not go either closer to saturation or closer to the cutoff region. So the point should be chosen in such a way that the transistor is operated in a proper manner. So what are all the factors that is affecting the operating point is that the main thing is temperature. Temperature is only going to act, it is going to play a role in the operating point because it will disturb. If the operating point is not proper, the amplification will not also be proper. So what is the problem behind this is the temperature. Why the temperature rises? We know when you give the supply to any device, it could be a transistor or a diode, obviously the temperature is going to increase. It is temperature dependent only. So only if the temperature rises, the electrons and holes will tend to move from one part to the other part. There is a mobility will increase. So when you give the input voltage, what will happen is the temperature will be increasing in the transistor, right? So what will happen is that will affect the operation of the transistor. How? Say ICBO. In the equation, if you see, IC is equal to beta IB plus beta plus 1 into ICBO. That ICBO is the collector base current when emitter is open. That is the meaning. So when the emitter is open, this ICBO gets doubled for every 10-degree rise in temperature. So initially when you give, there won't be a problem in temperature. But when you keep on using, what will happen? The temperature in the device will increase. So for every 10-degree rise in temperature, the value of ICBO will also be doubled. That is one reason. And same way, for every 1 degree rise in temperature, the VBE will also decrease by 2.5 millivolts. So that is also the reason why the operating point is unable to be in the stable manner. So now let us see the methods of biasing. Normally there are 4 methods of biasing are available: base resistor or fixed method, emitter feedback method, biasing with collector feedback method, and voltage divider method. Yes. Now let us see why after telling the types of biasing, I'm going for stabilization is that through the biasing methods also we can stabilize the transistor circuit. So what do you mean by stabilization? The process of making the operating point independent of temperature variations. So there I told you, right, operating point is depending upon the temperature. So to stabilize the operating point independent of the temperature, we are going to stabilize it. So for which we are concentrating on the term stability factor. So stability factor is nothing but the change in or the rate of change of collector current IC with respect to the collector leakage current ICO at constant beta and IB is called stability factor. So how we will normally find the stability factor is DIC divided by DIC naught, that is the change in collector current to the change in collector leakage current when the constant IB and beta are maintained. Okay. Usually there is an expression I've given, no, IC is equal to beta IB plus beta plus 1 into IC. This is the general equation. So to get the stability, how to find the stability, you have to derive a small thing. Simple thing, you have to differentiate the equation IC with respect to, that is IC is equal to beta IB is 0. With respect to IC naught, you have to differentiate. So after differentiating, the left hand side becomes 1 because you are differentiating with respect to IC. So it becomes 1. Same way right hand side also you differentiate. So that becomes beta into, you differentiate that DIB by DIC. So plus the next term is IC naught. So DIC naught by DIC, beta plus 1 is a constant value. So what do you mean by S actually? DIC by DIC naught. So in the place of DIC naught by DIC, put 1 by S. That is beta plus 1 by S. So you after substituting, you are getting what is the stability factor. So what is that? S. Normally after biasing, you will be calculating what is the stability of the biased circuit. So S is equal to beta plus 1 divided by 1 minus beta into DIB by DC. This is the stability. So normally in 2 mark questions, it will be asked what is stabilization or what is the stability factor, what is the operating point and all. Next is the thermal runaway problem. Same thing only, thermal runaway. Here also the same equation only written. No, IC is equal to beta IB plus beta plus 1 into ICVO. So what will happen as temperature increases, the leakage current will also increase. Okay. So when the leakage current increases, obviously what will happen? The collector current will also increase and IB will also increase. If ICBO is increasing, if IB is increasing, obviously IC will increase. If IC increases, what will happen? Temperature will increase. If temperature increases, what will happen? Again, ICBO will increase. So it is a cumulative action. Again and again happens. So that is called the thermal runaway problem. Okay, that's a, it is a self-destruction of such an unstabilized transistor is known as the thermal runaway or thermal runaway problem. So next is the, here today I'll be teaching 2 methods, that is base method or fixed bias method, anything you can say. So look at the circuit, in the usual transistor circuit, what is done there? There is a extra resistance connected to the base. That's what you have to note down. So you can find out there is a resistor called RB. That RB is the one which we can choose to stabilize the circuit. Right? So considering the closed circuit from VCC, base, emitter and ground, what we are going to do after applying the KVL, which is Kirchhoff's voltage law, VCC is equal to IBRB plus VBE. That you have to understand. So what is that? IB into RB. What is KVL? The sum of the voltage drops will be equal to the applied voltage. Applied voltage. So VCC is the applied voltage. What are the sum of the drops? IB into RB. Then IC into RC. That's all. That alone. And VBM. Sorry, it is VBE. In that circuit only we are concentrating. So it is VBE. So what we are going to do, simply find out what is RB from the equation. Manipulate it, that's all. IB RB is equal to VCC minus VBE. From that you find out what is RB. Yes, you got the what is the value of RB, right? So here in that equation you can find, since VBE or VEB, whatever it may be, is very, very less, right, compared to VCC, we are neglecting the term. So RB becomes VCC, right? Next is how to find the stability factor. Once you have what is the value of IC, you can find out the stability factor. So here you see S is equal to, I'm sorry, S is equal to beta plus 1 divided by 1 minus beta into DIB by DIC, right? So what is beta actually? Generally, what is beta? From that equation, you can tell, no, IC by IB. So DIB by DIC is equal to 0, right? In fixed method, IB is independent of IC. So DIB by DIC is made 0. So in the red colored, I am marked, no, S is equal to beta plus 1 divided by 1 minus beta. In that, you have to make that DIB by DIC is equal to 0, because it is independent of IC. IB is independent of IC. So totally the term is made to 0. So what will happen to S now? S is equal to beta plus 1. Right? So thus the stability factor in a fixed bias is beta plus 1, which means that IC changes. IC will change beta plus 1 times. So we have to maintain the stability factor at least equal to 1. It should not go above 1. That is the point. So here it is beta plus 1, right? So compared to other type, it is somewhat not too better, somewhat better, right? So here IC changes beta plus 1 times as much as changes in ICO. So to some extent you can achieve. If it is going to 1 means it is not at all a problem, but it is beta plus 1 times. Next is collector method, right? Just So here again, always we are going to choose the base resistor RB in such a way that you are going to achieve some stability in the circuit. So the required value of RB needed to give the zero signal current IC can be calculated. So from the equation you can write RL is equal to, in that equation itself you can see RL can be written as IC plus IB into RL, which is nothing but IC into RL. The total RL can be written in that way. So ICRL plus IBRB plus VBE is equal to VCC. So maybe if I say no, you may not be able to understand. After that you can, if you go through, it will be very easy only. So same way you find out what is RB from the equation, what is written there, right? After writing RB, try to find out IB from the same equation, applying Kirchhoff's voltage law. This is what you have to do in all the biasing. Try to find out RB value, because RB is going to decide the stabilization factor. So find RB, find IB. Why to find IB? Because it is DIB by DIC we have to find out. So find that also, substitute the stability factor equation. Finally, you'll be getting one stability factor, no? So this value is small. Finally, if you see RL plus RB we have written, no? There also comparatively, when you see compared to RB, RL will be very, very, very less. So that also you are neglecting. Finally, what will happen? The value is smaller than 1 plus beta, which is obtained for fixed bias. In fixed bias, what did we get? 1 plus beta. So here you can somewhat you have improved. Okay. So mostly the value will be very closer to 1. That is why it is, they are saying it is somewhat there is an improvement in the stability factor when we go for this biasing method. Yes. Next, let us, remaining two methods are there that please you can go through on your own site. So next will be, from whatever I have taught today, I have just given what are the possibilities that can be framed as a question. So examine or define the base width modulation. Okay, so what is base width modulation? So in the, when you are giving the input and output part, that is biasing, what will happen? When you increase the reverse bias voltage, the width of the base is getting decreased. The depletion layer gets penetrated into the base. That is called base width modulation. So here also you can add one more question. What is early effect? So please take care of these two concepts. Next is show how alpha, beta and gamma are related to each other. Right? Alpha, we know what is alpha. It is a current gain or a current amplification factor in CB configuration. Beta in CE configuration. And gamma in CC configuration. So we have to find the relationship between all the three. Right? It is quite very simple only. Next is what is thermal runaway problem, or what is a thermal runaway in BJT. So that also I told you there is a cumulative action takes place because of the temperature, right? That is the thermal runaway. Next will be sketch the characteristics of BJT in CB configuration. HCB configuration that I have taught now, that first configuration whatever I taught is the CB configuration that you have to take care. Just plot the curve between the voltage and current. Okay, so both they are asking input and output. So input and output now common base will be common. So VEB will be the voltage and current will be IE. There in the same way, right? Output also you have to plot. So next is compare CB, CE and CC configurations. Next is illustrate punch through in BJT. That also I told you, when the breakdown occurs, the punch through will happen. Next is there is a possibility that they may ask such questions. Between, if we consider common base, it is alpha, likewise beta, gamma. With that formula you have to find out. Okay, the transistor as IE is 10 milliamps, alpha is given. Find the value of base and collector current. So two quantities given here, IE and alpha. So you can find what is IC. With the help of IC and IE, you can find IB. That's very simple. So examine transistor breakdown and define heat sinks, and this is a type of heat sinks. Right, in power transistors, we'll be using some heat sinks. That is, if at all temperature rises, there will be a material which will receive that heat. That is called heat sink, in such a way that the transistor is protected. Next is what is the significance of NPN transistor and PNP transistor. That also you must take it. Next is draw the DC load line that I taught you, right? Find how will you note down the point A and B by drawing the load line. Next is operating point. That also I have told you clearly. What is stabilization? Outline the reasons for thermal runaway. You might be knowing the definition for thermal runaway, but you must state the reason why the thermal runaway problem occurs. That is due to the temperature. When temperature rises, what happens? IC current increases. When IC current increases, what happens? Temperature increases. Again, ICBO will increase, IB will increase, and again IC will increase. The cumulative actions, they know that you have to answer. And if you concentrate on the, just I'll guide you, if at all, if such a question is asked, it could be CE, CB or CC, any question. Develop the input and output characteristics of a transistor in CE configuration. Okay, so if that question is asked, first you must write what is a transistor. To begin with, you have to say what is a transistor. Exact definition you have to write. Next, construction of the transistor. Construction means what is that? Emitter, base and collector, and you have to talk about the size of the emitter, base and collector, and you have to tell the concentration of doping in each. Say if emitter means emitter will be doped heavily, base will be doped very lightly, and the collector will be doped moderately. All those informations you have to give, and the size also you have to give. Next, since you are going to study or you are going to write on the input and output characteristics, to obtain the characteristics, obviously you require a circuit diagram. So draw the circuit diagram, right? Either a simple circuit diagram showing the transistor with its connections properly done. If you go wrong in it, right, it won't be nice, right? So if you're choosing an NPN transistor now, the biasing should be proper. Okay, without getting into confusion, you have to draw that. And then you have to, here I have written CC, it could be any configuration. For example, I have written here, right? Draw the circuit diagram and explain the same how the connection is given. So it is forward bias. This junction is reverse bias. What you are going to note down. Then draw the input and output characteristics curve and explain. So the curve also you have to concentrate. When you draw the input characteristics, what should be in x-axis, what should be in y-axis, and what should be kept constant. Okay. So that also you have to take care. And you have to explain the same, right? And then discuss in detail about the different types of transistor biasing circuits. So first you tell what is biasing, then list the types of biasing and draw the circuit diagram for each biasing circuit. So after that you have to calculate, or you have to write the output voltage value, current value, everything. Then you have to discuss about the stability and write the equations from the circuit and diagram and justify. What justification you are going to give? With this type of biasing method, you are able to obtain the stability in so and so form. Whether it is equal to 1 or 1 plus beta, or still it depend on some other value. All those justifications you have to give. So it is also an important question. Next will be explain the construction operation of the NPN and PNP transistor depicting its constructional diagram, right? So what you are going to do, construction. Again, the construction means what? If you take NPN, you have to say this is made or manufactured or obtained with N material, P material, NPN, forming as if two diodes are connected back to back. Draw the diagram that, wait, I'll show the diagram. Initially, I drew a diagram, no, that one. This diagram you can draw. In the same way you can draw. Whatever I've shown, the method, this only you have to follow how the electrons and holes are flowing, what's the direction of current. This diagram will be better for that. Whatever you're going to explain for NPN or PNP. Properly, if you show, you'll get the good marks for that. So don't write wrong answers like marking the biasing wrongly. So take care of that also, right? This is about NPN and PNP trans. Same way what I told you earlier, talk about emitter, base and collector, and talk about how the electrons are going to move from emitter region to base and from base to collector region. Everything you have to explain. And I think this is the last question. And this is the explain the following in detail, like stability analysis for biasing. This is what I taught you. So two things it is going to serve. When you study the biasing circuits, it is going to serve for two purposes. One is biasing methods you are discussing. Another, with that biasing method, how you are stabilizing the transistor, right? That is the point. So stability analysis, or they may ask stabilization techniques. Anything, both are same. So for example, if it is allotted for 10 marks, please write according to that. So what are the required things here? Say what is that method. With that method, what you are going to do. With the biasing, what is done? If say for example, fixed biased method or a base resistor method, both are same. So in that, a base resistor